You know how you share a reel, buy something online, or get AI to do your work? Your data is stored almost instantly, and the magic happens here in a data center. Singapore is one of the leading data center hubs in Asia with around 1,400 megawatts of computing power. But it might not hold this spot for long because billions are flowing into data center development just beyond Singapore's borders. So where does that leave Singapore? And can it keep up with the data center race? I'm here at Equinix's SG5, one of about 70 data centers in Singapore, to find out exactly what it does.
A data center houses servers, no different from how a hotel provides rooms for guests. So our guests here are servers which belong to our customers, and these customers come and locate their servers in our data center to facilitate their cloud operations. So, I always say the cloud doesn't really exist in the sky, it is physically located in the data center.
Asia is a data center hotspot with established hubs in India, Japan, China, and Singapore. The region accounts for over a third of the world's current total computing power, and it's growing, with Southeast Asia becoming the next hotspot. So what's driving this boom?
The demand for next generation technologies such as AI, machine learning, the demand for digital services such as video streaming, more data is being created and generated. Everything that's being put onto the cloud has to be stored in a data center. Singapore has always been a tech hub. All the major tech companies, they all have their regional headquarters in Singapore. And because of that, the data center industry itself has always been quite vibrant. But in 2019, the moratorium had happened. Now that has been lifted, but currently there's still a lot of restrictions in building new data centers. And as a result of that, there are countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, that are trying to take that spillover or that excess demand that is still being demanded in Singapore to places like Johor in particular.
It makes sense that data centers like this one, which occupies for about 3.5 football fields, are thriving in Southeast Asia. They run day and night, consuming large amounts of electricity and water, especially for cooling. Most Southeast Asian countries have plenty of these resources, except Singapore.
Data centers in Singapore grow vertically as opposed to horizontally like you do in other markets. The Singapore model creates a lot of engineering and design challenges. That means that the cost of developing that data center and ultimately the cost for the end user is significantly higher than the Johor model, for example, where you'll see these long single-story buildings, and this is more akin to what you would see in the United States. Generally in Johor, for example, you've got data centers where there's only one user. In a data center in Singapore, but a lot of the facilities will have, in some cases, thousands of customers within one building. So if we're assuming that these Legos are both 300 megawatt facilities, this is what a facility might look like in Johor. The yellow is representing all one single customer, whereas if we look at the Singapore example, we've got a number of different color blocks here. Some of these blocks might be financial services, insurance companies, healthcare companies, cloud computing companies, a much greater mix of customers.
How does the diversity in services, as well as the type of data that is being stored, play into the strengths of Singapore?
So Singapore, over the last 15-20 years, has developed a very strong ecosystem. So all of the different cloud providers are in Singapore. All of the different telco companies have got data center capacity in Singapore, which allows these services to plug into each other directly. So the diversity is the value add in Singapore, whereas the volume or the economies of scale is the value add in a market like Johor.
Singapore is back in the data center game after a pause from 2019 to 2022 because of a resource crunch. But with limited land, water and power persisting, why does it need to keep building?
Now, when it comes to AI, there's AI training, there's also AI inferencing. If you look at AI training, the thinking is that with more GPUs, with larger data centers, you can train better AI models. Across the border in Johor, we have 4,400 megawatts of capacity that's currently being planned. Singapore having only 1.4 gigawatts of data centers built up over the last 20 years. We can't compete on the ground. But I would suggest that when it comes to AI inferencing, when it comes to R&D around AI, without adequate data center capacity, Singapore potentially might lose out on the opportunity.
So we're building for the future, and because we don't know what we don't know yet, we are just anticipating for what is to come. Is that right?
Definitely.
How does Singapore plan to keep growing its data center industry? The answer may be here, inside the world's first data center test bed, built for our tropical climate.
A lot of data centers, equipment and solutions are developed in temperate climate where the temperatures and humidity are much lower. They have a lot more solutions. For example, they can rely on the outdoor temperature to do free cooling. But because of a hot and humid climate, we have very limited options. That's also the reason why I think we can be, in fact, world leading in terms of adoptions of very high efficiency cooling solutions. Those solutions that we develop here in Singapore can also be exported across Southeast Asia.
Besides tropical data centers, what other data centers could and should Singapore explore?
Singapore can actually look at floating data centers or underground data centers. Then of late, there's a lot of interest in exploiting nuclear power, like in particular small modular reactors. But a lot more efforts has to go into developing the technology. We also need to work on public perception.
The booming data center industry is possibly one of the few that's resilient amid global trade and physical wars. Across Southeast Asia, countries are rushing to build, with resource-rich countries like Malaysia and Thailand drawing tech giants to their shores. And then there's Singapore, land poor, resource scarce, yet still determined to stay in the game. It is doing so by attracting new players and diversifying its ecosystem. But as the region powers ahead, one question remains: will today's innovation become tomorrow's problem?